Welcome to The Explainer. I'm your host, and today we're completely stripping away that gleaming white marble and those, perfect Instagrammable toga fantasies of the ancient world. We are diving deep into the gritty, breathtaking, and honestly, sometimes terrifying realities of antiquity. We so often look back at history through this lens of perfect philosophy and pristine golden temples, but the actual truth of the human spirit back then, it's way more raw and, frankly, a whole lot more fascinating.
So here's the question for you. Could you survive even a single day back then? I mean, really think about it. Imagine walking barefoot across sun-baked stone, dodging donkey dung, or bathing by literally scraping a mixture of dirt, sweat, and olive oil off your skin with a metal blade. Yeah, not exactly a relaxing spa day. Hey, real quick, if you love uncovering the gritty, unfiltered truth of history, please take a quick second to like this explainer, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a fellow history buff. Oh, and definitely drop a comment below letting me know where you're tuning in from today. I absolutely love seeing our community grow.
All right, so here's our roadmap for today. 1. Surviving ancient Greece. 2. Boudica versus the Roman Empire. 3. The roots of ancient medicine. And 4. Sappho, history's lost muse. Let's get into it.
Part 1. Surviving Ancient Greece, Shattering the Marble Illusion.
Get ready to have those marble illusions completely shattered, because the reality of living alongside guys like Socrates and Plato, it was downright exhausting. Let's just walk through your average Athenian day. First off, you'd wake up in a modest, sun-baked mud brick home that, in the summer, essentially functioned as a slow-cooking oven. And for breakfast, you're eating a dense, stale barley brick called maza and washing it down with watered-down wine because, well, the regular water simply wasn't safe to drink. To get clean, you can forget about soak. You'd slather yourself in olive oil and literally scrape the dirt off with a metal striggle. Top it all off with a wardrobe consisting of an unfitted linen rectangle draped over your body that offered absolutely zero sun protection, and you were just baking in that sweltering Mediterranean heat.
Now, let's dismantle the ultimate Greek myth, democracy. We always hear power to the people, right? But the reality was astonishingly exclusive. If you were a woman, a foreign-born resident, or part of the massive enslaved population that literally built the city, you were completely silenced. Only free, male, Athenian-born citizens over the age of 18 could actually participate. That means nearly 90% of the population had absolutely zero political voice. So it was a democracy, sure, but for a very specific, very sunburned club.
And hey, if you were lucky enough to be in that 10%, you had to be really careful not to be too successful. The Athenians practiced this thing called ostracism. Once a year, citizens could literally vote to kick you out of the city for 10 years simply by scratching your name on a broken piece of pottery called an ostracon. No trial, no jury, just a popularity contest in reverse, usually because you were just too popular or getting annoying. Combine this brutal political cancel culture with a life expectancy of roughly 30 years, constant warfare, and some seriously easily angered gods, and you start to realize that surviving ancient Greece was a monumental daily struggle.
Moving right along to Part 2. Boudica versus the Roman Empire, the queen who made Rome bleed.
Shifting our focus from the dusty streets of Greece to the untamed lands of Britannia, we meet Boudica. Now, this all started with a pretty catastrophic betrayal. When the king of the Iceni tribe died, he left his kingdom jointly to his daughters and the Roman emperor, hoping to keep the peace. But instead, Rome annexed the land, publicly flogged Queen Boudica, and committed unspeakable horrors against her daughters. Big mistake. Rome thought they had just crushed a minor tribal woman, but instead they forged a terrifying mother of vengeance. Boudica united the fractured British tribes with a singular, chilling vow: win or die.
And Boudica didn't just rebel. She executed a terrifyingly fast and systematic eradication of Roman power. It was like wildfire. First, the Roman colony of Camulodunum and its massive temple of Claudius were reduced to ash. Next up, the thriving commercial hub of Londinium was utterly destroyed, completely abandoned by the fleeing Roman governor. And finally, Verulamium was completely leveled. The fires she set burned so intensely that archaeological digs today still reveal a thick, dark layer of ash right beneath these modern cities. I mean, she sent shockwaves all the way to Emperor Nero in Rome.
But eventually, that fire met cold Roman steel. Governor Suetonius ended up choosing his battlefield brilliantly, a narrow defile that totally neutralized Boudica's massive numerical advantage. The highly disciplined Roman legions held their ground, and the British tribes were defeated in a really brutal slaughter. Yet Boudica herself vanished. She wasn't paraded in chains through the streets of Rome, she just disappeared. And in that mystery, she transformed from a defeated queen into an immortal myth of defiance against oppression.
Part 3. Roots of Ancient Medicine. Healing the Body and Spirit.
Let's see how this builds our understanding of the ancient mindset by looking at how they actually healed themselves. To the ancients, illness was never just some random biological malfunction. It was seen as a deep disruption in cosmic and natural harmony, and the underlying philosophies across the ancient world were remarkably similar. Whether it was the Greek theory of the four humors, the Indian Ayurvedic system of the three doshas balancing the five elements, or traditional Chinese medicine focusing on the flow of qi and the balance of yin and yang, ancient diagnosis was all about listening to the invisible forces of nature. You weren't just treating a fever, you were literally realigning the patient with the universe.
But hey, do not mistake this holistic philosophy for a lack of scientific precision. Get this, over 2,000 years ago, the Indian physician Sushruta documented an astonishing 300-plus distinct surgical procedures. He utilized more than 120 specialized instruments, and he was even performing early forms of plastic surgery, like rhinoplasty, to reconstruct noses. It's just wild to think about. The technical skill of the ancient world was incredibly profound.
So the crucial takeaway here is that ancient healers intuitively knew exactly what modern science is only now proving. Egyptian healers were out there using honey as a highly effective antiseptic long before anyone knew what bacteria even was. Greek patients sought cures through ritual sleep in Asclepian dream temples. Indigenous Amazonian shamans used plant medicines not just physically, but spiritually to find the root of suffering. They deeply understood the mind-body connection and harnessed the placebo effect through rituals, essentially proving that community, belief, and nature are absolutely fundamental to the healing process.
Which brings us to Part 4. Sappho, History's Lost Muse, the Power of the Intimate Eye.
For our final historical journey today, we're transitioning away from the battlefield and the clinic and into the quiet, candlelit rooms of the island of Lesbos. Because while the men were busy writing these massive, epic tales of war and conquest, Sappho chose to sing of love. Plato himself famously called her the 10th muse. And what made her work so totally revolutionary was her radical use of the first-person perspective, that intimate I. She wrote, "He is equal to the gods, that man who sits beside you, who listens to your sweet voice and watches your lovely laughter." She managed to capture the visceral, aching, and unapologetic desire of watching a woman she loves speak to someone else. Her lyrics were meant to be plucked gently to the strings of a lyre, and they expressed this raw human emotion with a vulnerability that had just never been seen before in Western literature.
Yet despite being incredibly famous in the ancient world, we only have tiny fragments of her work left today. So why was so much of her voice erased? Well, as empires rose and fell, and as moral codes rigidly shifted under Roman and later Christian influence, her openly emotional and same-sex love poems became a huge target. Her life's work was largely lost to library fires, neglect, and deliberate suppression. What we actually have left today was literally unearthed from ancient trash heaps in the Egyptian sands, just little shards of papyrus that still pulse with undeniable passion.
But here's the beautiful part. Despite all this historical erasure, Sappho's legacy simply could not be extinguished. In fact, the very language we use today, words like sapphic and lesbian, are rooted directly in her name and her island home of Lesbos. She completely defied the centuries to become an eternal queer icon and a symbol of feminine artistry. Her fragmented poetry remains a mirror for anyone who has ever loved fiercely and quietly in defiance of the world around them.
So, from the grueling, sweltering, mud-brick homes of Athens to Boudica's fiery vengeance against Rome, the cosmic operating tables of antiquity, and the aching poetry of Sappho, which of these historical realities shocked you the most? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I genuinely can't wait to read what you guys think. And hey, if you found this explainer as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss out. And share this explainer with someone who loves a good dose of real, unfiltered history. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next